Stop worrying about developing game or knowing exactly what to say when you go up and talk to a girl or try to make friends when you're missing the key factor that will account for 90% of your success, which is your vibe. The energy you bring to the table is very real and people can feel it. If your vibe is on point, you're gonna effortlessly attract everything that you want. But if it is off, you're gonna struggle to even have a basic conversation. So in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down what your vibe is and how to actually improve it. So I wanna start by comparing how my vibe was when I was in high school to what it is now. So when I was in high school, I was extremely shy, very awkward. I was very insecure about a lot of things. I had no confidence whatsoever. So I really struggled socially. I remember having just a couple of my close friends, and that was really it. Like, even if you don't have too many friends, everyone has a couple friends, and that was really it. Those were the only people I talked to. I would say hi to those like acquaintances, those school friends, but besides that, it wasn't like I was really talking to too many people. Forget about talking to girls or just any guys that weren't those friends. So I didn't really talk to too many people, and I don't really remember having any meaningful conversations with anyone outside of things that you kind of had to talk about for school. So I never really got to develop too many friendships, whereas now I'm very confident. I have great charisma, great nonverbal communication. It's super easy for me to talk to someone new and make them like me very quickly. And this is something I've been doing over the last 4 years solo traveling. I cannot tell you how many times I'll show up into a city knowing absolutely no one, and night after night after night, I'll end the night either going home with a girl or having friends that I hung out with that whole night and just had a great time. And this is not something that's been a one-off. It's been like hundreds and hundreds of times in many different cities I've been able to pull this off. So it's pretty confirmed at this point. And the key reason for this is my vibe. And I want to tell you one of my favorite stories of what happens when your vibe is on point. But before we get into that, I built every single one of you a charisma mastery guide, breaking down everything you need to do to be extremely charismatic and have success stories like I have in this story. So this story takes place this summer. It was one of those outdoor seating areas in northern Sweden, so it's light 24/7. It's super cool. And everyone's outside having a great time drinking at this nightclub. And I see this gorgeous girl, probably one of the hottest girls I've ever been with. And we just make eye contact when I'm talking with someone else, like right off the bat. We both just smile and look at each other. So I just go up to her immediately. I introduce myself, and she compliments me on being so bold. She just loves how I just walked up to her, chatted to her. She's like, no other Swedish guys ever do this. And then we really just hit it off. And within 10 minutes of just talking, having a brief conversation, I bring her back to my hotel. And this is not something that's like a one-off. This type of stuff happens all the time. Maybe not at that exact speed, but having that sort of success story where, I just go up to a girl, there's an instant connection, there's an instant vibe, and we just get along super well. And this is all because of the things that I developed, because I promise you, my younger self couldn't have done these things. I never did it, right? So there's that. Whereas now it's like these things happen all the time, and there's a couple key ingredients that you need to really focus on that's gonna allow you to have this sort of success as well. And that's what we're gonna get into right now. All right, so now we're gonna break down exactly how to improve your vibe, and there's 3 key things that you need to focus on, starting with the first one, which is essential. It lays the foundation for everything else. You need to have this, which is good mental health. If you don't have good mental health, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're negative, no one's gonna wanna be around you. Your vibe is gonna be shit. Even if you try to fake it, it's not gonna come across the right way. So the first thing you need to do is develop great mental health. And this is something I learned at 19. I didn't understand the concept of mental health or how important this was for your vibe. But after developing it and learning what I learned, it became clear as day. So I'll break down exactly what I did at 19 because this was the first time that I ever developed great mental health. So I started with cutting out all instant gratification activities, things like video games, porn, social media. I deleted all the apps, weed, all those sort of things. I cut out all of them, every single one, even caffeine back when I was 19, no caffeine. So then I implemented delayed gratification activities, and I did it in the form of a morning routine so I could stay consistent with it. And I really used this to build trust in my word, build confidence, make myself stack wins on a daily basis. And this was a game changer. So I started reading, meditating, and gratitude journaling every single day. And then I would also reflective journal, but that was at any point in the day whenever I felt it, because it's something I actually quite like doing. I don't really need it as a disciplined act. And it's not something I do per se every single day. But that's been really helpful as well to understand my own mind and learn about myself. So those were the things that I did instead. You got to fill your time with stuff. On top of that, I was already going to the gym, but if you weren't going to the gym, you should definitely be going to the gym. So those were the key things that I started with that really allowed me to improve my mental health. I promise you, things started to change extremely quickly. The instant gratification activities, all those vices are only bringing you down. And the thing is, when you get rid of those, and then you also incorporate delayed gratification activities, things that are gonna make you feel good on a consistent basis, there's this real flip of a switch where you start to feel really good really quick. Something starts changing within a couple weeks, your mind starts to heal from all the degeneracy, and now all of a sudden you're actually starting to develop your prefrontal cortex, your mind's starting to think clearer, all your depression, your anxiety, it's gonna start to go away. And you're gonna feel like this new person. Do you see how much I smile on camera when I'm talking? This is the same thing I do in person. There's sometimes when I talk to people or I talk to coaching clients and I won't see them smile once. And I always bring it up. I'm like, bro, I haven't seen you fucking smile. Why aren't you smiling ever? And it's like the people who never smile, they're just not charismatic. You need to be warm. You have to have that warmth, nonverbal communication. And it comes from smiling. But it's very hard for you to smile if you feel like shit. If you feel terrible about yourself, you're never gonna smile. All these things kind of just come naturally. That's why it's about changing your vibe. So your mental health is the foundation of this. When your mental health is good, you're already on track. It's like you're setting yourself up for success. It's very easy for you to be someone that people want to be around when you're so positive, you're so optimistic. You always have a smile on your face. You always are happy. People want that sort of energy. No one wants to be around someone who's fucking depressed, anxious, negative, sad. That's just the energy that brings people down. So if you have that good energy, it's just gonna make everything so much easier for you. So this is the absolute foundation that you need to start with. And now the second area is gonna be confidence. If you're not confident, it's gonna be really hard for you to be perceived in the same light as someone who is confident. There's just an energy about someone who has true internal confidence that is magnetic, that's undeniable. And that's something that I've developed. So let me break down what I did. So one of the first things, which we've already mentioned, is the mental health stuff. That is directly going to improve your confidence. And here's the thing with the morning routine, there's an additional layer to it which helps for confidence, which is that I built trust in my word by saying that I'm gonna do something and staying consistent with it. So I said, I'm gonna read, meditate, and gratitude journal every single morning, and I've done it for years. Think about that genuinely. It's not like I've done it for a week, a month, a couple months, no, years. 10 minutes of meditation a day. I don't know that, I'm not good at math, but it's probably a lot of fucking hours at this point, I've said so many things I'm grateful for. I've read a couple hundred books. I've reread so many of my favorite ones to really ingrain that knowledge. There's been so much change and improvement that's come from that alone. So beyond just the fact that I actually showed up and did it every single day, there's been so many things that I've learned that actually allow me to improve my confidence from those things as well. Now, the other thing which is absolutely essential, you can read all the books you want, you can meditate, but if you don't do this next step, you're never gonna reach your true potential confidence, which is you have to overcome your fears. This is really, really what changed the game for my confidence when I was younger. See, when I was growing up, I had a lot of social anxiety. I was always nervous. I didn't like to talk to new people. I didn't like these things at all. I was always scared of the world, I felt like. So what I started with was just cold approaching girls, because that was kind of the scariest thing for me. Like if I had to, I could go talk to a guy. It wasn't that scary, but cold approaching a girl was fucking scary for me. So what did I do? I started to cold approach girls everywhere I went. So the most obvious one's nightlife. Of course, there you talk to all the girls. But then it was also like the beach. That one was really scary for me. This was even scary after I'd already slept with like 5-10 girls in nightlife. I was still scared to talk to girls at the beach because it was a very uncomfortable setting. I was talking to girls at the gym as well. Pretty much all the areas where you can talk to girls, I was talking to them. And that was really the start for me. It was this overcoming my fears phase of my life, which built so much confidence. And anything that scared me is something I would just dive straight in towards. So another thing is going out alone. My family moved from my hometown when I was 19 to Florida, and I never really went out alone. I did one time, and that's when I met the girlfriend. If you don't know my story, I just went out one time alone in Florida. But after that, and after I built my confidence towards the end of 19 when I started the mental health stuff, that's when I started to go out alone and I started solo traveling. I went to Sweden, a foreign country, and I started going out alone all by myself there. And it started this theme of constantly just going out alone. And then I went back to Florida, was doing the same thing there, back to Sweden once again, and the cycle continues. But I've been going out alone for the longest time, and now after years and years, I have friends, right? But for the longest time, I've had to do this. And even just recently, just a couple months ago, I was back to going out alone. I went to a new city. I'm always solo traveling. I'm always pushing my comfort zone. This is a huge drive of confidence. When you can constantly say, this scares me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then you realize that nothing bad happens and only good things happen. You're constantly just like, holy shit, so there's nothing to be afraid of. And then you keep going after bigger and bigger things, and it drives more accomplishments, more accolades. It makes you more savage, more courageous, and you start becoming the man that you want to be. But if you're scared to go talk to a girl, how are you going to be truly confident when you know that deep within? When you're scared to just go to a social event by yourself, how are you going to be truly confident? So a lot of these things came from me pushing my comfort zone, as well as improving my mental health, learning and developing through the things that we're doing to improve my mental health as well, which we're going to kind of go into in the next step. But it's absolutely essential that you tackle every one of your fears. Now, you might have other fears than just those. Maybe those are related to yours, are similar to mine. Maybe they're slightly different, but you have to tackle your fears. And that's one of the best things that you'll ever do. And the third and final thing is going to be developing social skills. It's super important that you have social skills. This is what makes people like you extremely quickly. If you don't have them, you're just going to rub people the wrong way. If you kind of come across as a little awkward, a little weird, people are going to dismiss you off. I know, because I was that guy when I was younger. I was always dismissed off. And now, being on the other side of things, I also don't have time for people who don't have social skills. I dismiss them off, if I'm being honest. The people I spend time with, I want them to have the character traits that I want to have. So I'm not going to be spending time around people that's awkward and weird, because it's going to rub off on me. So I only spend time with people with great social skills. Now, social skills can be developed. Like I said, I was terrible at social skills when I was younger. I felt socially awkward. I had a very low social IQ, but I developed them. And let me break down the exact steps. So through the mental health practices, always going back to this, the books that I read were books on social skills. That's how I started to develop. So I first read How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is an absolute timeless classic. You have to read this book at least once in your life. The second book I read was What Everybody Is Saying. It's a book on nonverbal communication written by an ex-FBI agent. This did a lot for me because I was so clueless to this stuff. I had no idea about nonverbal communication before that book. And then I read Captivate, which is a book on charisma. So those three books set me up for so much success. And since then, I've read so many more, but that really changed the game for me, with just those three books. And here's the thing you gotta understand, though. It's not just reading the books. It's applying what you're reading at the same time, so you can really ingrain those things into your mind. Because when you have an experience using it, it's going to be cemented in your mind. You're never going to forget the time that you use the charisma advice. You go up and talk to a girl, and all of a sudden you bring her home and sleep with her. You're never going to forget that. That's going to be ingrained in your mind forever, as it has for me. So you have to actually go out and experience things with this new knowledge. If you don't put it to the test, you're going to quickly forget it, and no changes are actually going to come about. So it's really important that you're constantly learning and then applying, and this is what's going to allow for those changes to happen, as it did for me. So just to quickly wrap everything up, you have to have great mental health because it lays the foundation. You need to have confidence because it's going to make you come across the right way. There's something magnetic about confidence. It's hard to describe. And lastly is social skills. When you have great social skills, it just kind of pieces everything together. It makes you that guy that people just are drawn to, that makes you magnetic, that makes you undeniable. So this is why I've had so much success, is because I've focused on these three things over the last 4 years. And that's what's made the biggest changes in my life and allowed me to develop a vibe that's allowed me to have tons and tons of social success. And every single one of you can do the exact same thing. And the first thing that you can do is pick up my Charisma Mastery Guide. This is really going to help you out. I break down the different verbal things, the non-verbal things. It's all clear as day so that you can have tons of success socially and be very charismatic. And it's completely for free. It's the first link in the description below.